1909, a whole subterranean city was found by G.E. Kincaid near the Grand Canyon in Arizona. It was said to be big enough for 50,000 people, with mummified bodies and ancient artifacts found all over the site.
Ancient Egyptian city found inside Grand Canyon? The ancient Egyptians are one of the most interesting cultures from the past. With their huge pyramids, mysterious hieroglyphics, and a lot of cultural history, the Egyptians have left a lasting mark on history. On the other hand, the Grand Canyon is a beautiful way to see how nature works. It is a deep canyon that has been there for a very long time. The idea that an old Egyptian city is hidden in the Grand Canyon has brought these two amazing things together, even though they seem to be in different worlds. The Grand Canyon is a natural feature that can be found in the southwestern part of the United States. It's about 277 kilometers long. The sharp cliffs and colorful layers of rock in the area show how much time has passed. It's a stunning place that many people visit every year to enjoy the beautiful views and ponder the hidden secrets in the open spaces. This strange theory goes against what most people think about the past, and it makes us wonder how many different ancient cultures were linked to each other. But this claim has been met with skepticism and criticism ever since it was first made. A lot of Egyptologists, archaeologists, and geologists are sure if the items and writings that are said to be from Egypt are real or not. Some people think that natural geological processes like erosion and natural weathering can lead to formations that look like buildings, which can be confusing. Also, the claim doesn't seem to be true because there isn't enough scientific evidence to back it up. As the investigation of the supposed Egyptian city goes on, new ideas start to come up. Some people think that Native American groups who lived in the area for hundreds of years and used their own culture to make art could have made the rock formations and carvings. Since these groups had been there for so long, they would have known about the unique culture of the area. Native American communities brought a lot of culture and strong connection to the earth with them. This made the Grand Canyon a place that will never be the same. Their achievements shouldn't be forgotten, and big claims shouldn't make them seem less important. The scientific community is still skeptical about claims that seem too good to be true. This shows how important it is to think critically, do in-depth research, and focus on evidence that can be checked. Even so, people have been interested in ancient civilizations and the secrets they are thought to hold for a long time. This is a good way to remember that there are still a lot of great things to find. Now that we know that, let's look into the history puzzle of ancient Egypt together. The Grand Canyon is a beautiful natural landmark that has been around for millions of years and has a long and interesting history. The Grand Canyon is a beautiful example of what happens when rocks break down over time. It is in the southwestern part of the United States, in the state of Arizona to be exact. The lifting of the Colorado Plateau, which is a huge area made up of layers of sedimentary rocks, is directly responsible for the Grand Canyon. Around 70 million years ago, uplift and erosion were the two main types of tectonic movement that changed the area into what it is today. The beautiful canyon was mostly made by the Colorado River, which starts in the Rocky Mountains. Over time, it wore away at the rocks, revealing the different stages of Earth's history. In addition to being important to geology, the Grand Canyon is also important to the history and culture of the world. Native American tribes like the Havasupai, Hopi, Navajo, and Hualapai have lived in the canyon for thousands of years. Their ancestors used to live in the area around them. These native groups have spiritual and cultural ties to the Grand Canyon that go back a long time. Within its walls, they keep their myths and traditions alive, and they also think of it as a sacred place. The first Europeans known to have been in the area, now known as the Grand Canyon, were Spanish conquistadors. This happened in the 1600s. People didn't start traveling widely and making maps of the world until the middle of the 19th century. In 1869, explorers led by John Wesley Powell were the first people to make it through the dangerous rapids of the Colorado River that run through the canyon. Researchers and cartographers could take notes and learn important things from this. Since then, tourists from all over the world have been drawn to the Grand Canyon. Millions of people visit every year to see the beautiful scenery and learn about the area's many natural attractions. The area that is now called the Grand Canyon was made a national park in 1919. This means that it will be kept and protected for future generations. Today it serves as a reminder of how much power nature has and how important it is to keep it safe. It is an amazing piece of geology, and it's also home to many different kinds of plants and animals, including rare and unusual species that can't be found anywhere else on Earth. People can really get a sense of how grand this historical landscape is because the park offers so many fun things to do, like hiking, rafting, camping, and guided trips. The idea that an ancient Egyptian city is hidden somewhere in the Grand Canyon has gotten a lot of attention and piqued the interest of people who are interested in alternative explanations of history as well as ancient civilizations. This crazy idea says that there may have been an ancient Egyptian settlement in one of the Grand Canyon's more remote parts. If what we are hearing is true, this could mean that people from different parts of the world talk to each other and that we didn't know about this time in our history before. The story starts at the turn of the 20th century when a reporter named G.E. Kincaid wrote a story about an amazing discovery made on an expedition. Kincaid says he found a network of caves deep in the canyon that led him to an underground city with artifacts and hieroglyphics that look like they came from Egypt. The next sentence goes into more detail about what Kincaid found. The Arizona Gazette told the story the following year in 1909. It was a story about a strange people who lived in the area before the Native Americans. But ever since the first time the claim was made, many people have had doubts, and many experts in the relevant fields are still not convinced. Also, there isn't enough scientific evidence that can be checked to back up the claim, which makes it hard to believe. The idea that an ancient Egyptian metropolis was in the Grand Canyon might be interesting, but there isn't much evidence to back up this theory, so it is seen as a lot of speculation. Because there isn't enough evidence to back it up, the supposed Egyptian metropolis is still just a theory. Most people in the academic world don't agree with this point of view. Those who believe the legend say that the fact that there are rock carvings in the area that look like hieroglyphics proves that ancient Egyptians once lived there, but there are a lot of doubts among experts about whether or not these carvings are real and how they should be interpreted. The second part of the study will look at the statues and bodies that are thought to have been found in the Grand Canyon, but there isn't much reliable information and physical evidence that can be found about these objects. Skeptics say that the lack of proof about where they came from, scientific analysis, and peer-reviewed publications hurts their credibility. Without a thorough study and confirmation by experts in the field, the authenticity and connection to ancient Egyptian culture remain unproven. A very important part of figuring out how much the claim is worth is also geological research. Some people say that rock formations and structures that are thought to be the remains of the old Egyptian city could have been made by natural geological processes instead of by people. These processes can make shapes and patterns that look like steps, walls, and pillars. Geologists say that taking these shapes as proof of an old Egyptian city ignores the powerful geological forces that have shaped the canyon over a very long time. People are interested in the idea that an ancient Egyptian city is hidden in the Grand Canyon, but the supposed artifacts and geological features can be explained in other ways. The culture of Native American groups may also have had an effect on the rock formations and carvings that look like hieroglyphics. Native American groups like the Ancestro Puebloans have lived in the area around the Grand Canyon for hundreds of years. Art and symbols were different ways for each of these groups to show who they were. There is a chance that the carvings and marks on rocks that have been called hieroglyphics were not made by ancient Egyptians, but by Native American tribes as a way to show their own culture. Over millions of years, these geological processes can change rocks into beautiful and interesting shapes that could be mistaken for the ruins of an ancient civilization. Also, you should think about the possibility that the evidence could be misidentified or misread. How people see the world can be affected by what they think about ancient societies and how much they want to learn about them. It's possible that the artifacts and geological features have been misidentified or misunderstood because they haven't been thoroughly studied by experts in their fields. Even if there are other possible reasons, it's still important to look at the facts objectively and do research. Scientists and scholars should keep looking into the Grand Canyon and its geological and cultural history to learn more about the area as a whole. If you use strict research methods, work with people from different fields, and stick to scientific principles, you can try out and evaluate more alternative explanations. Think about these other possible answers if you want to stay objective and avoid making assumptions that aren't true. Because human history and natural processes are so complicated, it takes careful analysis and strong evidence to come to good conclusions. Even though the idea that there was an ancient Egyptian city in the Grand Canyon has sparked interest, it is important to look at all the possible explanations before making a final decision about where it came from. To show that there isn't an ancient Egyptian city in the Grand Canyon, we need to address the specific claims that people who support the idea make and give counter-arguments that are based on scientific evidence and historical knowledge. First, there has been some doubt about whether the supposed artifacts and hieroglyphics found in the Grand Canyon are real and what they mean. It is hard to make a clear connection to ancient Egyptian script without a full study by qualified epigraphers and Egyptologists. If markings on rocks look like hieroglyphics, it might be because of natural geological processes like erosion and weathering, and not because someone made them that way on purpose. Second, the statues and mummified remains are less likely to be real because there is no proof of where they came from, no scientific study of them, and no peer-reviewed publications about them. Experts have had to put them through a lot of tests and checks to be sure they were made by ancient Egyptians. The claim doesn't take into account what is known about the history of Native American tribes in the area of the Grand Canyon. People think that ancient Egyptians made the rock carvings and other things that people think were made by these tribes. However, these tribes have their own rich cultural traditions and art styles. Sensational claims shouldn't be used to hide or downplay the presence of Native American culture and influence. In the end, the theory's credibility is hurt because there isn't enough thorough and verifiable scientific data to back up the claim, and there are other ideas based on geological processes and the cultural effects of Native Americans that are more likely to be true. To sum up, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that an ancient Egyptian metropolis was buried in the Grand Canyon, and experts in the field do not agree with this claim. Some people are interested in it, but after doing a lot of research and thinking about it, they aren't sure if it's true. Possible explanations for the supposed artifacts, hieroglyphics, and geological formations include natural processes, cultural influences from Native American tribes, and the lack of scientific investigation and proof of where they came from. When judging unusual claims, it is important to use critical thinking, scientific research, and well-known standards, as we can see by showing that the claim in question is not true. It shows how important it is to do a lot of research, work with people from different fields, and do a thorough analysis in order to tell the difference between reality and speculation. For well-grounded conclusions, it is important to be skeptical of such claims and to rely on reliable evidence and the consensus of experts. Even though the idea of finding old secrets is still exciting, this is still true. At this point, it is still just a guess that the Grand Canyon was once a big city in ancient Egypt, but there is a lot of evidence that points in that direction. Therefore, we imagine that all of us are curious about the level of mystique that the city possesses. If you think this video is interesting, please click the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel.